The Guesthouse Rules, Part 1. The Guesthouse Rules, the text message that woke me said, "Whatever you do, don't wake up." I stared at the words for several seconds without understanding them. My phone said 3:17 a.m. The room was dark, except for the pale light from the screen. Rain tapped softly against the bedroom window. Somewhere inside the house, wood creaked. I turned toward the other bed. Brooke? Empty. Her blanket had been folded neatly at the foot of the mattress. Not thrown aside, not disturbed. Folded. I sat up. Brooke? No answer. I looked toward the floor where her suitcase had been. Gone. Her shoes. Gone. Her charger. Her jacket. Gone. I got out of bed. The hallway was dark. Caleb? Nothing. Nolan? Silence. Tessa? Nothing. Sienna? Nothing. I opened the room across from mine. 2 made beds, no luggage, no clothes, no phones charging by the nightstand. I ran downstairs. The living room looked wrong. Not damaged, not empty, clean. That was worse. 6 people had spent the evening there. We had left soda cans on the coffee table, pizza boxes near the kitchen, Nolan's backpack by the couch, Tessa's yellow hoodie over a chair, Brooke's camera on the windowsill. Everything was gone. The house looked staged for a rental listing, like no one had ever been there, like I had imagined them all. My chest tightened. No. I ran to the front door. Locked. I turned the deadbolt. It would not move. I pulled. Nothing. Then I saw the wall beside the staircase. The painting. It was enormous, almost floor to ceiling, framed in dark wood. It showed the house from outside. Same cedar siding, same porch, same forest, same stone path. When we arrived, the painting had shown dozens of strangers standing on the lawn. Now, there were 5 new people in front. Brooke, Caleb, Nolan, Tessa, Sienna, all of them staring directly at me. I stumbled backward. No, Tessa wore the red sweater she had worn during the drive. Nolan still had the bracelet she made him. Brooke had her camera around her neck. Caleb stood with his arms folded. Sienna's hair was tied in the same loose knot she had complained about all day. They looked alive. Almost. Their eyes were wrong, too still. Then Brooke moved. Not much, just her head. A few degrees. Toward me, I screamed. I turned away from the painting and saw the mirror on the opposite wall. My reflection stared back. For 1 second, normal. Then the skin beneath my right eye split. A hair-thin line. Another opened near my mouth. Then another across my forehead. The cracks spread. I touched my cheek. Wet, dark blood coated my fingertips. In the mirror, a piece of skin slid from my face. Then another. Then another. I tried to scream again. My mouth opened. My reflection did not. It only smiled. Maya. Hands grabbed my shoulders. Maya, wake up. I opened my eyes. Brooke was leaning over me. Alive. Behind her stood Caleb, Nolan, Tessa, and Sienna. All 5. Real. Worried. My room. My bed. The rain. Everything back. I grabbed Brooke and started crying before I could stop myself. She froze, then hugged me. Hey, you're okay. I could barely breathe. You were gone. What? All of you. Nolan leaned against the wall. That bad? I looked at him. You were in the painting. He stopped smiling. Tessa sat on the edge of the bed. You were screaming for like a minute. Sienna handed me water. Nightmare? I drank too fast. Brooke rubbed my back. You're shaking. Caleb checked his watch. 11:46. I looked at him. What? You've been asleep maybe 40 minutes. That made no sense. The dream had felt like hours. Nolan said, You missed the snacks. That is absolutely not important, Tessa said. It's very important. Brooke rolled her eyes. Come downstairs. You're not sleeping after that. I didn't want to leave the room. But I also didn't want to be alone. So I followed them. We had graduated from Alder Creek University 3 days earlier. 6 people who had spent 4 years pretending graduation was an abstract idea. Then it happened. Brooke had accepted a job in Chicago. Sienna was moving to San Diego. Caleb had graduate school in Boston. Tessa was going home to Portland for at least a year. Nolan had no plan and treated this as a personality trait. I was moving to Seattle. This trip had been my idea. 5 nights at a rental deep in the Oregon mountains before everyone scattered. One last trip. One last week where the 6 of us could still pretend we were not becoming 6 separate lives. I didn't tell them that part. I said I found a great deal. The house was called Hollow Pine Guesthouse. The photos showed a modern cedar cabin surrounded by tall evergreens with huge windows and a deck facing a river. Too nice for the price. That should have bothered me. It didn't. We arrived that afternoon. The nearest town was almost 40 minutes away. There were no neighboring houses. No visible roads except the narrow one that brought us in. No cell signal worth mentioning. But there was Wi-Fi. Mostly. The first strange thing was the painting. It covered nearly an entire wall beside the stairs. The house in the painting was unmistakably hollow pine. Same porch. Same stone path. Same line of fir trees. But the lawn in the painting was full of people. Maybe 30. Men, women, children, old people. Young people, all painted with uncomfortable realism. Brooke had stood in front of it for 5 minutes. I hate this. Nolan had asked why. Because they're all looking at us. Caleb had explained perspective. Eyes painted toward the viewer appear to follow you. Brooke stepped left. Every face seemed to look left. She stepped right. They followed. That's not helping, Tessa laughed. I think it's kind of cool. Sienna said, it's hideous. I barely looked. At the time, it was just a weird decoration. The second strange thing was the locked door upstairs. The listing said 3 bedrooms. There were 3 bedrooms. But at the end of the second floor hall was a 4th door with no number and a brass keyhole. Locked. Brooke messaged the host through the rental app. No reply. Caleb tried the knob. Probably storage. Nolan said, or murder room. Tessa hit him with a pillow. By 10 that night, we had stopped caring. Music, food, beer, old stories. We played a game where everyone had to predict who would disappear from the group chat first after graduation. Everyone chose Caleb. He protested. I respond. Brooke laughed. You send thumbs up reactions 12 hours later. That counts. Nolan pointed at me. Maya's the one who'll keep us together. I smiled. Obviously. Tessa was sitting beside him. She tied a blue and white bracelet around his wrist. Nolan looked down. What's this? A friendship bracelet. He held up his hand. This better not mean we're engaged. Tessa smiled. Relax, you couldn't afford me. We all laughed. That memory mattered later. More than I knew. At 11:56, after I woke from the nightmare, we went downstairs again. I stopped halfway down, the wall beside the stairs. No mirror. There had never been a mirror there. Only the painting. I stared. What? Brooke asked. Nothing. The people in the painting looked exactly as they had earlier. Strangers? No Brooke. No Caleb. No Nolan. No Tessa. No Sienna. I told myself the dream had borrowed the painting. That was all. At midnight, all 6 phones chimed at once. Nolan held up his beer. Midnight toast? Then he checked his screen. What the hell? Mine showed a text from unknown. Welcome to Hollow Pine Guesthouse. Please follow all property rules until checkout. The property manager will never visit unless you request service. After 8 p.m., ignore all knocking. Do not open the door. Between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., remain in bed. Do not order food or drinks from within 5 miles of the property. Do not leave the property before checkout DEI. Never speak to the people in the painting. If a guest speaks to someone in the painting, that guest must leave the house before sunset. Nolan read it twice, then laughed. Okay, this place officially rules. Brooke stared at him. You think this is funny? Yes, Sienna said. It's obviously marketing. Caleb shook his head. Not on the listing. How do you know? I read the rules before we booked. You read rental rules for fun? I read contracts before agreeing to them. Nolan raised his beer. And that's why you're going to die alone. Tessa smacked his shoulder. I opened the booking. Normal rules. No parties. No smoking. No pets. Nothing about paintings. Brooke tried calling the host number. No ring. A voice answered immediately. Not male. Not female. Flat. Mechanical. Please follow all property rules until checkout. Brooke frowned. Hello? Please follow all property rules until checkout. We received a strange text. Please follow all property rules until checkout. Is this automated? Please follow all property rules until checkout. She hung up. No one laughed. Nolan reached for another beer. Caleb looked at the label. Where did that come from? Store. What store? Nolan pointed at his phone. I ordered. Brooke said. You ordered alcohol out here? Yes, mother. When? Like 40 minutes ago. Caleb held out his hand. Show me. Nolan frowned but gave him the phone. The store was 3.1 miles away. Silence. Tessa looked at Rule 4. Do not order food or drinks within 5 miles. Nolan rolled his eyes. I ordered before we got the rules. That doesn't mean anything, Brooke said. It means I wasn't psychic. Cancel it. Nolan tried. Order status. Delivered. We all looked toward the front door. No one had heard a car. No knock. No footsteps. Caleb checked the porch camera in the app. Unavailable. Brooke said, Don't open it. Nolan laughed again, but quieter. It's after midnight. Rule 2 says, Don't open after 8. Tessa stared. So don't. Nolan started toward the door. Brooke grabbed his shirt. Seriously? He stopped. For the first time, uncertainty replaced the joke. I looked through the front window. A cardboard box sat on the porch. No delivery driver. No car lights. No movement on the road, just the box. Nolan whispered, That was not there 10 minutes ago. We left it outside. Around 1:30, everyone went to bed. No one admitted being afraid. No one needed to. Brooke and I shared the room at the end of the hall. Caleb and Nolan took the room across from us. Tessa and Sienna took the smaller room near the stairs. I lay awake listening to rain. At 2:05 a.m., something struck the downstairs wall. Boom. I sat up. Brooke did too. Another. Boom. Then another. Regular. Hard. Like someone hitting drywall with something heavy. Boom. 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 Then a scream. High. Sharp. Tessa. I threw off the blanket. Brooke grabbed my wrist. No. That was Tessa. Rule 3. Screw the rule. Maya. Another scream. Then silence. My phone buzzed. Group chat. Tessa. Don't come down. Nolan immediately typed. Nolan. Where are you? Caleb. Tessa answer. Brooke. Stay in bed. I typed. Maya. Are you hurt? 3 dots. Then, Tessa. I'm sorry. Offline. Nolan called her. No answer. He wrote, I'm going down. Caleb replied, No. Nolan. That was Tessa. Caleb. And the rule says 2 to 5. Nolan. I don't care. Brooke got out of bed and locked our door. I stared. What are you doing? Stopping you? She could be hurt. She literally told us not to come down. Boom. One more impact from downstairs. Then a dragging sound, slow, across the floor. I cried silently for almost an hour. At 3:12, footsteps moved along the hallway outside. One set, bare feet. They stopped outside our room. I held my breath. A soft voice. Maya? Tessa? My hand went toward the door. Brooke grabbed it. Tessa whispered, Maya, please. I started crying again. Brooke shook her head hard. No. The handle moved. Once. Twice. Stopped. Then the footsteps went away. At exactly 5:01, our phones chimed. No message. Just connection restored. Brooke opened the door. Caleb and Nolan were already in the hall. Nolan looked terrible. Where's Tessa? Sienna stood in her doorway, alone. Her face was white. She left the room. Nolan rushed to her. What happened? Sienna's voice shook. I woke up because the door opened. When? A little after 2. Tessa? She nodded. She walked out. Why didn't you stop her? I thought she was going to the bathroom. What happened? Sienna started crying. She stood on the stairs. What? She was facing the wall, the painting. Sienna wrapped her arms around herself. I asked what she was doing. She didn't answer. And then? She grabbed her head. Nolan's face tightened. She started hitting it against the wall. I felt sick. Against the painting? No. Next to it. How hard? Sienna stared at the floor. Hard, Brooke said. And you stayed in bed? Sienna snapped. The rule said, stay in bed. No one answered. She wiped her face. Then she screamed. I covered my ears. When I looked again, what? She was gone. Nolan ran downstairs. We followed. No Tessa. No blood. No damage to the wall. No shoes by the door. No red sweater. Her suitcase was gone from the room. Her toiletries gone. Her phone charger gone. Even the photo strip of the 6 of us she had stuck to the mirror was gone. Nolan stood in the living room. That's impossible. Then I saw the painting. Tessa, everyone turned. A new figure stood near the center of the lawn. Tessa, red sweater, jeans, hair over one shoulder, alive looking, still. Nolan approached the canvas. No. He touched the frame. Brooke pulled him back. Rule 6. I'm not talking to her. Don't get close. She's right there. The painted Tessa did not look at Nolan. She looked at Sienna. Sienna stepped backward. I remembered my dream. 5 friends in the painting. The clean house. No luggage. No trace. I ran upstairs. Tessa's room had only 1 bed now. I stopped. There had been 2. I knew there had. Sienna stared from the hallway. Maya? I pointed. Where's her bed? Sienna looked into the room. What do you mean? The second bed. Brooke came up behind us. There was only 1 queen bed. No empty frame. No missing furniture. The room looked designed for 1 guest. Caleb whispered. The house changed. Nolan laughed. Not because it was funny. No. He looked at his wrist. The bracelet, blue and white, still there. She made this. I grabbed his hand. Yes. Nolan looked at me. She existed. Yes. We spent the morning testing reality. We searched our phones. Graduation photos still showed Tessa, group photos, videos, messages. Her contact existed, but inside the house, everything connected to her stay was gone. The booking confirmation listed 5 guests, not 6. I had submitted 6 names. Now only 5. Maya Whitmore, Brooke Callahan, Caleb Foster, Nolan Hayes, Sienna Brooks. No Tessa Monroe. I opened the original email confirmation. 5 guests. Same. Brooke whispered. This is insane. Caleb said, we leave. Rule 5. Do not leave before checkout day. No one argued. We packed quickly. The car would not start. Battery normal. Fuel half full. Starter silent. We took backpacks and walked. The road ran south. We followed it. 20 minutes. Trees. Rain. No cars, no intersections. Then the road curved, and Hollow Pine Guesthouse appeared ahead of us. From the opposite direction, we stopped. Brooke whispered, no. Caleb turned around. We didn't circle. No, we followed one road. Nolan shouted into the trees. Very funny. Nothing answered. We walked north. 30 minutes, same result. The house appeared ahead. No matter which direction we took, we returned. Rule 5 was not advice. It was geography. We stayed. That afternoon, Nolan sat in front of the painting. Not close enough to touch, close enough to stare. I sat beside him. Tessa hated beer. He looked at me. What? She pretended to like it because you did. He smiled weakly. I know. She told me after sophomore year. Why are you telling me? So, we keep remembering. He looked at the bracelet. What if that's why the house changes things? What? What if it wants us to forget? I looked at Tessa in the painting. She still stared at Sienna. Then don't. At 8:43 p.m., someone knocked. 3 polite knocks. We froze. A man's voice. Property manager. Brooke whispered, no. The man continued. I'm here about the plumbing request. We had made no request. Caleb pointed at Rule 1 on his phone. Property manager will never visit unless requested. Nolan whispered, what if the rule itself is fake? Brooke glared at him. Not tonight. The voice outside. Hello? No one answered. Another knock, then harder. Property manager. I looked through the peephole. A man stood on the porch, middle-aged, rain jacket, baseball cap. Normal. Almost. He was facing away from the door. Then his head turned. His shoulders did not. The head rotated until the face looked backward at me. I jumped away. What? Caleb asked. Before I could answer, something scraped across the front window. A hand. Too long. 4 fingers dragged across the glass. The shadow moved. Up. Not sideways. Up the wall. Brooke whispered, oh my God. Something crawled across the second-floor window. Fast, human-shaped, but the joints bent wrong. The knees folded outward. One arm seemed too long. It stopped outside our bedroom, then disappeared above the roofline. Nolan said, that's enough. I officially believe the rules. No one laughed. At midnight, our phones chimed. House rule update. Between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., remain in bed. IFIT enters your room. Do not let IT know you are awake. Sienna started crying. What does it enters your room mean? Caleb said, exactly what it says. No, yes, no. Brooke took her hand. We follow the rules. What if the rules change again? We follow those too. Sienna looked toward the painting. Tessa was still there. At 2:37, I woke because the room smelled rotten, not garbage. Wet earth, meat left in heat. Brooke lay beside me. Her eyes closed. I heard the door open, no footsteps. The room temperature dropped. The mattress near my feet sank, slowly, as if someone had placed one knee on it. Then another depression. Closer. The thing was climbing onto the bed. I kept my eyes shut. Hot breath touched my forehead. A voice whispered, Maya, Tessa. My chest tightened. Maya, open your eyes. I almost did. Brooks's hand slid beneath the blanket. Found mine. Squeezed once. Our old signal from freshman lectures. Don't move. The thing breathed against my face, then whispered in Brooks' voice, Maya, help me. Brooks' real hand tightened. I almost screamed. Something scratched the wall above us. 3 slow lines, then the weight lifted. The door creaked. Silence. I did not move until 5 o'clock. At breakfast, no one wanted to describe the night. Then Sienna said, Tessa talked to me. Every fork stopped. Brooke looked up. What? Sienna's face changed. Fear. Regret. I didn't answer. Caleb asked, when? Yesterday, from the painting? Sienna nodded. Rule 6. Never speak to the people in the painting. Nolan stood. What did she say? Brooke snapped. Don't encourage this. I want to know. Sienna whispered. She said she's okay. Nolan's eyes filled. Did she say where she is? Brooke. Nolan. What? The Guesthouse Rules Part 2. She's not Tessa. You don't know that. The rules say don't talk to them. The rules also let Tessa disappear, Sienna said. She said this house is the fake place. Silence. Caleb leaned forward. What exactly did she say? Brooke looked at him. Seriously? I want the wording. Sienna swallowed. She said, you're not trapped in the painting. You're trapped outside it. Caleb's expression changed. What else? She said the people in the painting got out. Nolan sat. Tessa got out. Brooke slapped the table. Stop! Everyone looked at her. That thing outside the window wore Tessa's voice. Sienna said, that doesn't mean the painting did. How would you know? I don't. You talked to it. I said I didn't answer. Brooke stared. Sienna looked away. Too quickly. I noticed. Brooke noticed too. At lunch, I found Sienna standing before the painting, her lips moving. I grabbed her arm. What are you doing? She jumped. Nothing. You were talking. No. I saw you. Sienna's eyes filled with anger. She can hear us. Who? Tessa. I stepped back. Sienna looked at the painting. Tessa says we're making it worse. Stop. She says the rules keep us here. Stop talking to her. You don't understand. A soft sound came from the painting. Not voice. Not exactly. A whisper behind canvas. Maya. I froze. Sienna smiled through tears. See? I pulled her away. Brooke came running. What happened? She talked to Tessa. Sienna shouted, she is alive. Brooke read Rule 7. If a guest speaks to someone in the painting, that guest must leave the house before sunset. The sun would set at 8:14. It was 7:51, 23 minutes. Sienna saw our faces. No. Brooke said, we have to. No. Caleb stood between them. Wait, Brooke snapped. The rule is explicit, and the rule could be wrong. What? Caleb looked at the painting. We've assumed the rules protect us, because they have. Have they? Tessa broke one and disappeared. Maybe. Brooke stared. What does that mean? Caleb pointed at Tessa. She's in there. That is not proof she's alive. It's proof the process does something other than leave a body. Sienna looked at him desperately. Exactly, Brooke said. Don't, Caleb continued. If the house is a closed system, the painting could be an exit, or a trap. Yes, great, Sienna whispered. Tessa says the outside thing is trying to wake us up. My stomach tightened. The nightmare message. Whatever you do, don't wake up. Joy grabbed Sienna's wrist. You're leaving. Sienna pulled back. No. Before sunset? No. Nolan stepped between them. Brooke. She broke the rule. So? So we saw what happens when we don't follow the rules. We saw something happen to Tessa. We don't know what. Brooke looked at me. Maya. I hated that she made me choose. Sienna looked at me too. You know me. Yes. Then don't do this. The clock read 8:03. I said, Sienna, you talked to the painting. Yes. After we knew the rule. Her face hardened. Tessa asked me to. Exactly. She's alive. You don't know that, neither do you. 8:06. Brooke whispered, if we keep her here and the rule punishes everyone. Caleb said, we don't know it will. No, we don't. 8:09. Sienna started crying. I don't want to go outside. My chest hurt. She was my friend. 3 years of dorm rooms, bad dates, finals, road trips, late night food. Her mother had sent me birthday cards. I knew the scar on her left knee came from a bike crash when she was 11. I knew she hated olives and loved old musicals. I knew she slept with headphones when anxious. I knew her. And I still said, we have to follow the rule. The betrayal in her face will stay with me forever. Brooke opened the door at 8:12. Nolan and Caleb helped hold Sienna because she fought. Not violently at first, then harder. She screamed, you're killing me. Brooke cried openly, I'm sorry. No, you're not. We pushed her across the threshold. She fell onto the porch. I slammed the door, locked it. Sienna pounded, Maya! I covered my mouth. Please, 8:13. Brooke. 8:14. Sunset. The pounding stopped. Silence. Then, footsteps. Not Sienna's. Heavy. Slow. Coming from the side of the house. Sienna screamed once. The sound that followed was worse because we could not see it. A wet impact. A dragging scrape. Then Sienna laughing. Not crying. Laughing. Softly. From very far away. The house became silent. At 8:30, Nolan opened the curtain 1 inch. He turned away immediately. What? He shook his head. Don't. No one looked. By morning, Sienna was gone. Her luggage, her phone charger, her purple jacket, everything. The third bedroom now contained boxes, storage. There had never been a third guest room. Only 2. The painting showed Sienna beside Tessa. They held hands, both smiling. Nolan stared at them. We killed her. Brooke said, no, yes. The rule. We pushed her out. Brooke slapped him. He stared. She started crying. I know. No one spoke for an hour. That afternoon, I asked Nolan, what was Tessa's favorite movie? He frowned. What? Favorite movie? Why? Answer. He said, I don't know. You know. Do I? It was Jurassic Park. He laughed weakly. Okay. You watched it 6 times with her. His smile vanished. I did? I felt cold. You're forgetting. No. What did she major in? Communications. Wrong. Biology. He stared. Right. What was her last name? Silence. Nolan. He looked at the bracelet. I don't know. Tessa Monroe. Yeah. Say it. Tessa Monroe. An hour later, he looked at the bracelet and asked, why am I wearing this? I went to the bathroom and cried. I wrote all 6 names on my forearm with permanent marker. Maya, Brooke, Caleb, Nolan, Tessa, Sienna. Brooke saw. Good idea. She wrote them too. Caleb took a photograph. Nolan looked uncomfortable. What? I said, you're forgetting them. I'm tired. Tessa made your bracelet. He nodded. Right. But I could see the emptiness behind the word. At midnight, the next message came. House rule update. If one guest has spoken to the painting, at least one other remaining guest has already heard it too. No one moved. 4 people. One of us had already heard the painting. Brooke looked at Caleb. Caleb looked at Nolan. Nolan looked at me. I looked at everyone. No one spoke. Finally, I said, Anyone? Silence. Brooke whispered, if it's me, I don't know. That's not helpful. It's true. Nolan said, what counts as hearing? Caleb answered, a voice. What if it was a dream? Probably still counts. Brooke looked at him. You sound sure. I'm not. You always sound sure. Caleb's jaw tightened. Do you want me to panic instead? I want to know if you heard something. No. Too fast. Brooke stood. You did. Caleb stared. No? You hesitated before the answer. I was thinking. You always think. Nolan said, stop. Brooke pointed at Caleb. He's been obsessed with the theory that the painting is an exit. Because it might be. Why? Because we have evidence. What evidence? Tessa and Sienna exist there after disappearing here. That is not evidence they're alive. No. Then why defend it? Caleb looked toward the painting. Because someone had told him. I knew before he admitted it. He sat down. I heard Tessa yesterday. Brooke swore. But I didn't answer. What did she say? Caleb closed his eyes. That we have it backward. Meaning? She said, the painting isn't inside the house. Nolan frowned. What? She said, the house is inside the painting. Silence. I looked toward the giant canvas. The painted house. The lawn. The forest. The people. Caleb continued. She said every time someone leaves the house, the image gets more accurate. Brooke whispered, that makes no sense. It doesn't have to. Did she tell you to break rules? No. Did she tell you to leave? No. What did she tell you? Caleb looked at me. She said, Maya remembers. My stomach dropped. What? She said, you're the only one who remembers every loop. I stood. What loop? Caleb looked genuinely scared. I don't know. The nightmare. 5 friends gone. The clean house. The text. Whatever you do, don't wake up. I sat again. Did she say anything else? Yes. What? Caleb swallowed. She said, this isn't the first time we've been here. Brooke laughed in disbelief. No. Nolan whispered. What if that's true? Brooke rounded on him. You don't remember Tessa's last name? He flinched. That's exactly my point. The argument lasted an hour. No one trusted anyone by the end. We moved the kitchen chairs away from the painting, covered the canvas with a blanket. At 2 o'clock, we went upstairs. Brooke and I shared one room. Caleb and Nolan took the other. I woke some time before dawn. The blanket over the painting was lying on the floor. I could see the canvas from the upstairs railing. The painting had changed. Tessa and Sienna were no longer standing on the lawn. They were inside a bedroom. My bedroom. I knew the floral quilt, the cracked lamp, the small window. In the painting, I was asleep. Brooke lay beside me. Tessa stood at the foot of the bed. Sienna stood near my head, both pointing at me. My phone vibrated. Unknown sender. Whatever you do, don't wake up. Exactly like the dream. I was already awake. I backed away from the railing. A whisper came from the painting. Maya. I ran into the room and closed the door. Brooke woke. What? Don't go downstairs. Why? The painting changed. She stared at my face. Maya, I saw this before. What? The first night, the dream, I told her everything. 5 people gone. The painting, the mirror, the message. Brooke listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked, what if it wasn't a dream? I know. What if it was? A memory? Neither of us slept. Checkout day arrived at 6 a.m. Our phones chimed. Thank you for staying at Hollow Pine Guesthouse. Checkout is now available. The front door unlocked by itself. Click. We stared. Caleb said, we leave. No debate. The car started immediately. The road did not loop. For 40 minutes, we drove through forest, then highway, then signs, gas station, normal people, normal traffic. Brooke started laughing. Nolan cried. Caleb kept checking the rearview mirror. I held my phone. The booking now listed 4 guests, the 4 of us. Tessa and Sienna were gone, but the photos on my phone still showed 6, for now. At the town bus station, we returned the rental car. We had booked a shuttle back toward Portland. The bus was half full, families, an old man sleeping, a woman reading, normal, beautiful. Nolan stared at his bracelet. I still don't know why I have this, Tessa. He looked at me. Right. Say her name. Tessa. Full name. His face went blank. I said, Tessa Monroe. He nodded. Tessa Monroe. Then, who's Tessa? My chest collapsed. Brooke stared at him. Stop. I'm serious. Caleb looked at me. Maya. I pulled out my phone. A photo of all 6 at graduation. Now there were 5. Sienna was gone from it. I swiped. Another photo. 5. Then another. 4. Tessa and Sienna were disappearing from images. I showed Brooke. She looked at the photo. Who are those empty spaces for? I looked at her. She already did not remember. Brooke? What? Tessa? She frowned. Sienna? Nothing. Caleb looked sick. I remember the names. People? He hesitated. Not faces. I stared at Nolan's wrist. The bracelet was gone. He rubbed the skin. What? Nothing. My eyes burned. I wrote the names again on my arm. But when I looked down, Maya, Brooke, Caleb, Nolan, no Tessa, no Sienna. I grabbed a pen. My hand shook. I wrote them again. Tessa Monroe, Sienna Brooks. The bus rocked gently. My eyes became heavy. No. Brooke looked at me. What? Don't let me sleep. You need sleep. Brooke. Maya, we're safe. No, you haven't slept. Don't let me. Darkness. Someone shook my shoulder. Maya. I opened my eyes. Brooke smiled. We're here. I looked outside. Forest, cedar, siding, stone path, Hollow Pine Guesthouse. I stopped breathing. No. Brooke stood. What? No. Passengers collected bags. Nolan yawned. Caleb stretched. I grabbed Brooke. We left. What are you talking about? We left this house. She laughed nervously. We just got here. No? Maya. No. Everyone looked. I pointed at the house. We were here for 5 days. Caleb frowned. The trip just started. Where are Tessa and Sienna? Silence. Nolan said, Who? My legs weakened. Tessa. Sienna. Brooke looked at Caleb. Maya. There are 4 of us. No, there have always been 4 of us, our dorm. We lived in 4-person apartments. No, 6. Nolan laughed carefully. You okay? I checked the booking. Hollow Pine Guesthouse. 4 guests. Maya Whitmore. Brooke Callahan. Caleb Foster. Nolan Hayes. The graduation group chat had 4 members. Every photograph showed 4 people. No gaps, no empty spaces. Reality had finished rewriting itself. We entered. The house looked almost identical. Almost. Only 2 bedrooms were usable. The 3rd door was gone. Not locked. Gone. Wall. Brooke walked past it without noticing. Maya, you look pale. I looked at the painting. Tessa and Sienna were still there. I almost collapsed. They stood among the strangers, holding hands, looking directly at me. Tessa lifted one finger to her lips. Sienna pointed upstairs. I whispered, I remember you. Brooke turned. What? Nothing. Rule 6. Never speak to people in the painting. Too late? I didn't know. We unpacked, or they did. I barely moved. Nolan ordered food. Caleb checked Wi-Fi. Brooke took photos. Every action repeated details from before. Same jokes, same rooms. Same evening, except 2 people had been removed. The house had become smaller to fit the new truth. I went upstairs early. Brooke called after me. "You're skipping snacks?" "I'm tired." "Okay." I entered the bedroom. 2 beds, mine. Brooke's. I sat. On the wall opposite the bed was a small framed painting. It had not been there in the first loop. I approached. The image showed Hollow Pine Guesthouse. 6 people stood on the lawn. Me, Brooke, Caleb, Nolan, Tessa, Sienna. My heart pounded. Behind us stood a 7th figure. Tall, bent. Its arms hung too low, its knees curved outward. Its head tilted sideways. The same shape from the windows. But it was not outside the house. It stood among us. My phone chimed. 12 a.m. Unknown sender. "Whatever you do, don't wake up." I stared. Another message appeared. "How's rules? There were never 6 of you." My blood turned cold. A sound came from inside the wall. Brooke's voice. "Maya?" I turned. The bedroom door remained open. I could hear the real Brooke laughing downstairs. The voice from the wall whispered again. "Maya." I approached. "Brooke?" The wall answered. "Don't look at the painting." I turned toward the small framed picture. The 7th figure had moved. It stood closer to me, inside the painting. I stepped back. The figure moved again, closer, 1 step between blinks. I covered the frame with a pillowcase. My phone buzzed. "Do not let it know you remember." I froze. Downstairs, everyone laughed. The same laugh from the first night. The same story Nolan had told. The same sequence. Loop. I looked at my forearm. 4 names. Maya, Brooke, Caleb, Nolan. Then faint marks appeared beneath, like ink pushing through skin from underneath. Tessa, Sienna. I pressed my fingers against them. They were real. Another line appeared. Not a name. A number. 7. My phone buzzed. "If you remember the missing guests, do not fall asleep." I looked at the clock. 12:04. The first nightmare had started after I went to bed. Maybe that was not a nightmare. Maybe every loop began with someone sleeping. Maybe sleep was the reset. I opened the door. Brooke stood in the hallway. I jumped. "What are you doing up here?" "I thought you were downstairs." "I came to check on you." Behind her, the hallway was too dark. "Brooke, how many people came on this trip?" She frowned. 4. "Who are Tessa and Sienna?" "No idea." "Do you remember making fun of Nolan's bracelet?" "What bracelet?" I looked into her eyes. Nothing. The person in front of me was Brooke. My Brooke. But her reality had no room for 2 people I loved. I whispered, "Go downstairs. Maya, please." She left. At 1:13, the group chat changed. A 5th member appeared. Tessa Monroe. Profile picture blank. No one else reacted. I typed, "Maya, Tessa?" No response. Then, Tessa Monroe. "You shouldn't have remembered." I stared. Maya, "Are you alive?" Tessa, "Wrong question." Maya, "Where are you?" Tessa, "Other side." Maya, "Of the painting?" 3 dots. Tessa, "Of the rule I did not understand." Maya, "How do I get you out?" Tessa, "You don't." Maya, "Then how do I get out?" Long pause. Tessa, "Wake up." My stomach tightened. The first message. "Whatever you do, don't wake up." Contradiction. I typed. "The rule says don't wake up." Tessa, "Which rule?" I looked at my phone. The original message was still there. "Whatever you do, don't wake up." Then I noticed the sender. Not unknown. Maya Whitmore, my own number. I had sent the warning to myself, or Some version of me had. At 1:39, Caleb knocked. Maya? What? You awake? Yes. He entered. His face was pale. I heard someone. From the painting? He stopped. How do you know? You heard them before. Before what? The last loop. Caleb stared. I don't know what that means. Who did you hear? He swallowed. A woman. Name? She said Tessa. My heart jumped. Caleb whispered, she told me to ask you whether you remember the door. What door? The one upstairs. The locked door. In this reality, it did not exist. I ran to the hallway. Blank wall. Caleb followed. There used to be a door here. He touched the wall. I remember. Hope hit me. Do you remember? Only now, because Tessa told you. Yes. I pushed on the wall. Solid. Caleb. Knocked. Hollow. We looked at each other. Nolan came upstairs. What are you doing? Help. With what? This wall. He laughed. Why? Just help. We found a hammer in the utility closet. Caleb struck the drywall. Brooke shouted from downstairs. What are you idiots doing? The wall cracked. Behind the drywall, a wooden door. Old, dark, brass keyhole. Exactly the one from the first loop. Brooke reached us. What the hell? Nolan stopped laughing. I said, this was here before. Brooke looked at me. Before what? The phone chimed. House rule update. Do not open the fourth bedroom. Caleb stared at the message. Nolan whispered. So obviously we open it. Brooke rounded on him. Are you insane? He looked at me. I don't remember two people. What? I heard you earlier. His voice shook. You kept saying Tessa and Sienna. I thought you were losing it. And now? I found this. He opened his pocket. Blue and white bracelet. Tessa's bracelet. I don't know where it came from. My eyes filled. Nolan. He looked at the bracelet. I think someone made this for me, Tessa. He whispered the name. Something shifted in his expression. A memory. Then another. He covered his mouth. The Guesthouse Rules Part 3 OMG. Brooke stepped back. What? Nolan started crying. Tessa. Brooke looked frightened. Caleb said, the house is removing memories. Brooke shook her head. No, we've been here before. No. I pointed at the door. You remember this wall being solid 5 minutes ago? That doesn't mean the door knocked from the other side. 3 times. We froze. A voice. Sienna. Not Sienna speaking. Someone saying her name. Brooke's face changed. She whispered, I know that name. The knob turned. Locked. My phone buzzed. If you open the fourth bedroom, one guest will remember everything. Nolan said, that sounds good. Caleb said, nothing here gives without taking. Another message. One guest will also be forgotten. Silence. Brooke whispered, no. I looked at the 3 of them. Open the door. One remembers everything. One gets erased. Do not open. Continue loop. I thought of Tessa, Sienna, all the strangers in the painting. How many had once stood in this hallway? How many times had the house resized itself? How many people had been removed until groups became smaller and smaller? Maybe the rental had once held 10 bedrooms? 20. Maybe the painting was not full of victims from different years. Maybe it was one group. Again and again, different loops, different missing people. Caleb whispered, Maya, what? You're smiling. I wasn't. Then I saw my reflection in the dark brass plate beside the lock. It was smiling. I stepped away. The reflection remained, just like my first dream. My phone buzzed. Do not trust the person who remembers first. I looked at Caleb. He looked at me. Brooke looked between us. Nolan whispered, Maya remembers first. The hallway changed. Not physically, socially. One sentence had turned me into the threat. Brooke backed away. Maya, don't. Why do you remember? I don't know. Why are you? I don't know. Caleb said. Tessa said you remember every loop. Nolan gripped the bracelet. What if she's part of it? I wanted to scream. Instead I said, if I wanted you dead, I would have opened the door. Brooke looked at the old door. Maybe you still will. A scraping sound came from downstairs. The painting, something moving against canvas. Then a voice filled the house. Tessa, Maya. Nolan ran toward the stairs. I grabbed him. No, Tessa. Rule 6. I don't care. He pulled away. The voice came again. Nolan. He stopped. The bracelet trembled in his hand. Tessa whispered, you forgot me. He started crying. I'm sorry. Nolan, come downstairs. I slapped him. Hard. He stared. Do not answer. The house became silent. Then Sienna's voice. Brooke? Brooke froze. Maya? Caleb? All 4 names, calling each of us. The painting knew. Or the people inside did. My phone buzzed. If the painting calls every remaining guest by name, the loop is ready to reset. Clock, 1:58 a.m. Rule 3 from the first loop. Between 2 and 5, remain in bed. I understood. The sleep rule. Caleb looked at me. What? It resets when we sleep. Nolan whispered, then don't sleep. The phone chimed. Between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., remain in bed. Brooke laughed bitterly. So which one? Stay awake or obey? Exactly. Rules contradicting each other. Because this loop was breaking. At 2 o'clock, every light went out. The 4th bedroom door unlocked. Click. Nobody touched it. It opened by itself, darkness beyond. Not a room. A hallway, longer than the house. Walls covered in paintings, hundreds, maybe thousands. Each one showing hollow pine, different numbers of people, some 10, some 6, some 4, some 1. In every painting, the crooked creature stood somewhere different, sometimes outside, sometimes at a window, sometimes inside, sometimes behind the group. Caleb whispered, my God. A little girl stood halfway down the impossible hall. Painted? Real? I couldn't tell. She said, close the door. Nolan whispered, who are you? The girl looked at him. You forgot me. Behind her, something crawled across the ceiling. The creature, not coming toward us, moving away. Brooke whispered, it's scared. The thing disappeared deeper into the hallway. The girl said, close the door before it wakes up. What wakes up? I asked. She looked at the house around us. The floor shifted. A deep groan traveled through the walls. The entire building felt like something breathing. Caleb stepped into the hallway. Caleb, he looked back. If the house is inside the painting, don't. Then this is outside. He stepped farther. Nothing happened. The phone buzzed. Guests who enter the 4th bedroom cannot return to the same version of the house. Caleb laughed once. Of course. Brooke said, come back. He looked at us. We keep trying to survive the rules. Yes. What if surviving is the loop? No one answered. He looked at the paintings. Every time we obey, the house removes someone and resets. Nolan whispered, so breaking them is how we leave? Maybe it gets people killed. So does a bang. The girl down the hall pointed at one painting. 6 figures. Us. Original 6. Tessa and Sienna included. I stepped closer. Inside that painting, we stood before the house on arrival day. But there was no creature behind us. The 7th figure was Maya. Another Maya. Watching from an upstairs window. Me. The girl said, you always remember too late. I looked at her. Who are you? She said, Maya. Everything inside me went cold. She looked nothing like me. Then I understood. Not my name. Her name. Another Maya. Another loop. Another person who had remembered. The paintings were not just previous guests. They were discarded realities. Every reset preserved a version. Every missing person remained somewhere. The house was not erasing them completely. It was moving the world away from them. Brooke whispered, "How do we stop it?" The girl said, "Someone has to wake up before the house decides which version is real." "What does that mean?" She pointed back toward our bedroom. "Sleep. The reset." I asked, "If I fall asleep, you go back. If I stay awake, the house keeps changing. And if I wake up?" The girl smiled sadly. "You have to realize you're already asleep. My first dream. Whatever you do, don't wake up." Not a warning to stay asleep. A warning from the house. It did not want me awake. I looked at the hallway. The house, the rules, the impossible geometry. None of it was real in the normal sense, but reality had consequences. How do I wake up? The girl pointed at the painting of the original 6. "Remember everyone." I said their names. Maya Whitmore. Nothing. Brooke Callahan. The hallway lights flickered. Caleb Foster. A wall cracked. Nolan Hayes. The paintings shook. Tessa Monroe. A scream echoed from deep in the house. Sienna Brooks. The crooked creature appeared at the far end of the hallway. It ran toward us. Brooke screamed. The girls shouted. Again. I repeated all 6 names. The creature moved faster. Caleb grabbed the 4th bedroom door. "Keep going, Maya Whitmore." The floor bent. Brooke Callahan. Windows appeared in the hallway walls. Caleb Foster. The ceiling opened into night sky. Nolan Hayes. The creature was 20 feet away. Tessa Monroe? Nolan's bracelets tightened around his wrist. Sienna Brooks? The creature leaped. I shouted all 6 names at once. The world went white. I woke on the bus. Not the shuttle from the guest house. The original charter bus. Arrival day. Rain on the window. Brooke asleep beside me. Caleb across the aisle. Nolan in the back. Tessa. Sienna. All 6. Alive. I started crying. Brooke woke. "Maya?" I grabbed her. "What happened?" "Nothing." Tessa leaned over the seat. "You okay?" I looked at her. Really looked. Tessa Monroe. She laughed. "Yeah?" Sienna Brooks. Sienna frowned. "Correct?" Nolan Hayes. He lifted his sunglasses. "This feels like roll call." Caleb Foster. Caleb stared. "Maya." I looked outside. The bus passed a sign. Hollow Pine Road 2 miles. No. I stood. Stop the bus. The driver looked in the mirror. "What? Stop the bus?" Brooke grabbed my arm. "Maya, we can't go there." "Go where?" "Hollow Pine." Caleb frowned. "How do you know the name?" I looked at him. The booking had not yet been discussed on the bus. My phone buzzed. Unknown sender. "Whatever you do, don't wake up." I deleted it. Another message appeared. "Welcome back." I ran to the driver. "Please stop. This road has no shoulder." "Then turn around. We're almost there." "No." The driver frowned at me in the mirror. His eyes were completely black. I stepped backward. The passengers around us had gone silent. Every person on the bus turned toward me. Their faces were familiar. People from the painting, the old man, the woman, the children, dozens of previous guests, all staring. Brooke whispered, "Maya." The driver smiled. "You remembered too early." The bus windows darkened. Outside, Hollow Pine Guesthouse appeared, but enormous. Not a house. A structure stretching through forest farther than sight. Hundreds of windows, thousands of rooms. Every version layered into one. The bus stopped, doors opened. The driver said, "Checkout is not available." No one moved. Then Tessa grabbed my hand. I remember I looked at her. She was crying. The painting. Sienna gasped. I remember too. Nolan looked at his bracelet. His face changed. Caleb whispered, the fourth door. Brooke covered her mouth. All six remembered. The house shuddered. For the first time, it was not rewriting one of us. We had brought the full group back into the same reality. The phone buzzed. Final rule. If all original guests remember each other, the house cannot reset. Nolan laughed. That sounds good. Second line appeared. It will remove the memory source instead. Everyone looked at me. Of course. Maya, the person who remembered first. Brooke said, No, my vision blurred. What does remove mean? The bus driver answered, You. The creature climbed onto the windshield. Not attacking, watching, waiting. The house had another mechanism. If it could not delete Tessa and Sienna, it would delete me. My hands became transparent. Brooke screamed, Maya! I could see the seat through my fingers. No. Nolan grabbed my arm. His hand passed partly through. Caleb shouted, How do we stop it? The driver said, You can't. Tessa looked at the bracelet. Then at the painting people around us. Maybe we don't stop it. What? She turned toward me. We remember you. The bus driver stopped smiling. Tessa shouted, Maya Whitmore. Sienna joined. Maya Whitmore. Brooke grabbed my hand. Maya Whitmore, Caleb, Nolan, all five. My fingers became solid again. The windows cracked. The bus driver's face stretched. The creature outside shrieked. The passengers began speaking names. Dozens, hundreds, names from forgotten loops, names of people erased by the house. The sound grew. The guest house outside flickered. Rooms disappeared, returned, collapsed into one another. Every forgotten person became remembered somewhere. The system could not choose a version. Reality stopped agreeing with itself. The painting cracked. The enormous house split down the center. Behind it was daylight. Real daylight. A highway rest stop. Cars. People. Normal. Brooke screamed, Run! The bus doors opened. We ran. All six. Behind us, the other passengers followed. Some vanished when they crossed the threshold. Others became children. Older. Younger, different versions. I did not look back. I ran until my lungs burned, then I fell onto wet asphalt. A truck driver shouted. Someone called 911. Police came. 6 college graduates were found at a highway rest area 43 miles from where Hollow Pine Guesthouse should have been. There was no Hollow Pine Guesthouse. No rental property under that name. No road, no listing. No owner, no record. The booking app showed our reservation had been canceled 2 weeks before graduation. Reason: property does not exist. We all remembered the house. At first, Tessa remembered the painting. Sienna remembered the voice. Nolan remembered the creature. Caleb remembered the fourth hallway. Brooke remembered pushing Sienna outside. I remembered everything. For 3 months we met every Sunday and compared memories. We wrote them down. We recorded each other. We stored copies in different places because remembering each other had saved us. Then the details started changing. Not disappearing, changing. Nolan remembered the guest house as 3 stories. Brooke remembered the painting on the opposite wall. Caleb remembered 8 rules, not 10. Sienna remembered never being pushed outside. Tessa remembered being trapped in the painting for years. I remembered 5 nights. She remembered 50. We stopped arguing over which version was right. The important part was the names. 6 names. Every Sunday we said them. Maya Whitmore, Brooke Callahan, Caleb Foster, Nolan Hayes, Tessa Monroe, Sienna Brooks. 2 years later, Nolan and Tessa got married. At the reception, he wore the blue and white bracelet. Brooke moved to Chicago. Caleb went to Boston. Sienna went to California. I moved to Seattle. Exactly like we had planned. For a while I thought that meant we had won. Then, one October night, I woke at 3:17 a.m. My phone was glowing. Unknown sender. One message. Whatever you do, don't wake up. I stared, then deleted it. The screen went dark. I turned toward the wall. A small framed painting hung there. I did not own it. It showed a cedar house in the forest. 6 people stood on the lawn. Me, Brooke, Caleb, Nolan, Tessa, Sienna. Behind us stood the crooked 7th figure. But now there was another person beside it, a woman, older than me, gray in her hair. She looked familiar. I leaned closer. She was me, maybe 20 years older. Her painted hand was raised, one finger to her lips. My phone buzzed again. This time the message came from my own number. You didn't escape. Another message. You only woke up first. I looked back at the painting. Older Maya had moved. She was pointing toward the house. One upstairs window was lit. Inside it stood 6 children. No, not children. Smaller versions of us, another loop, another age, another reality. The phone buzzed. There are more of you than you remember. I wanted to throw it away. Instead, I called Brooke. No answer. Caleb, no answer. Nolan, no answer. Tessa, no answer. Sienna, no answer. My chest tightened. Then all 5 called me at once. 5 incoming calls stacked across the screen. I answered Brooke, static. Then her voice. Maya? Yes. You got the message? Yes. A second voice entered. Caleb. Impossible. Same call. I got it too. Then Nolan. Then Tessa. Then Sienna. Psst. All 5, conference call without any of us creating one. Brooke whispered. Say the names. We did. Maya Whitmore, Brooke Callahan, Caleb Foster, Nolan Hayes, Tessa Monroe, Sienna Brooks. The painting on my wall trembled. A crack appeared across the frame. The older version of me smiled, not kindly, proudly. Then the 7th figure behind us turned its face toward something outside the painting, toward me. My phone displayed one final message. House rule update. If the guests remember each other after checkout, do not contact them. If they contact each other anyway, do not say all 6 names. If they say all 6 names, the next house will open. The line disconnected. Every light in my apartment went out. From the hallway outside came 3 polite knocks. I did not move. A man's voice. Property manager. My blood turned cold. I lived on the 23rd floor of an apartment building in downtown Seattle. There was no property manager on duty at 3 in the morning. The voice continued. I'm here about your maintenance request I had made. No request. 3 more knocks, then scratching above me. Across the ceiling, a long shape moved past the window. 23 floors above the ground. I looked at the painting. The cedar guest house had vanished. Now it showed my apartment building. Dozens of people stood on the sidewalk, all looking up at my window. Among them were Brooke, Caleb, Nolan, Tessa, and Sienna. But they were not gone. I could hear them breathing through the disconnected phone. The painting changed again. 5 separate buildings appeared. Chicago, Boston, San Diego, Portland, Seattle. The same creature crouched across all 5 rooftops at once. Caleb's voice came through the phone. Maya? I'm here. I think the house was never a place. What? A rule. The scratching moved down my wall. A system, Brooke whispered, and we carried it out. I looked at the newest rules. The next house will open, not Hollow Pine, another house, another group. Maybe the rental had never been cursed. Maybe the curse was not attached to land or walls. Maybe it moved through memory, through people who survived, through stories. I thought of every person we had told: police, doctors, family, friends, therapists. Every one of them had heard about the painting. I whispered. We spread it. No one answered. Then Tessa said, Maya, look at the bottom of the painting. I did. A 7th building appeared, a college dorm. A group of 6 students stood outside with luggage, laughing. One of them held a phone. Midnight. The screen glowed. I could not read the message. Then the painting zoomed closer. The words became clear. Welcome to Hollow Pine Guesthouse. Please follow all property rules until checkout. I understood. Hollow Pine did not need the original house anymore. It only needed 6 people. A group afraid of losing each other. A place temporary enough to become uncertain. And someone willing to remember. The creature outside my window stopped moving. The property manager stopped knocking. Everything became silent. My phone buzzed. One final message. Whatever you do, don't wake them up. I looked at the painting. The 6 new students were still laughing. They had not received the rules yet. Maybe I could warn them. Maybe that was what the message wanted me to do. Maybe warning them would be the first contact. Maybe silence would let the loop begin. I thought of Tessa disappearing, Sienna screaming outside the door, Nolan forgetting the bracelet, Brooke looking at me like I was insane, Caleb opening the 4th room, all 6 names, all 6 lives. I picked up my phone. For years, I believed the lesson of Hollow Pine was simple. Follow the rules. Then I believed the opposite. Break the rules. Then I believed the truth was remembering. Now I think the house survives because it makes you believe there is a correct rule at all. Every choice becomes part of it. Obey, disobey, remember, forget, warn, stay silent. The rule is never the cage. The decision is. I deleted the message. I covered the painting. I did not call the students. I did not warn them. I did not sleep. At 3:17 a.m., 5 voices came through my phone. Brooke, Caleb, Nolan, Tessa, Sienna. Together they said, Maya, I answered. I'm here. Outside my apartment, something scratched the door. Inside the covered painting, 6 phones began to ring. And from somewhere on the other side of the wall, a young woman screamed, whatever you do, don't wake up, and